Welcome back to Ozarks Tonight. Have you heard of Marge Lyon? She is an author who wrote about the Ozarks back in the 1930s and 40s, and we're learning more about her and the impact she had here in the Ozarks back then from another author, Caitlin McConnell, who you have heard of and seen here on Ozarks Fox multiple times. She's the author of the blog Ozarks Alive and now the book Passport to the Ozarks, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on. Caitlin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So Marge Lyon, I understand you heard about her from a reader.
Yes.
who said you have to read about Marge Lyon, and you ended up writing about her extensively. Tell me about her. Who was she?
Yeah, so Marge Lyon, I have recently learned, because like you said, it was just about a week or so ago whenever a reader reached out and suggested I look into her life. She was a writer who was not originally from the Ozarks. She actually came from I don't even know if she was originally from Chicago, but before she came to the Ozarks, she was from Chicago. That's where she lived with her husband. And they were worried in the middle of the Great Depression that they would lose their jobs and they wouldn't be able to make it. And so after talking to her sister, they decided that they were going to move down to the Ozarks. Her sister was familiar with the area. They had driven through it many times and talked about how beautiful it was and how, mild temperatures and things like that. And they thought it'd be a great place to retreat to. So they used their savings and bought a farm out by Mountain View, Missouri, and got to know the locals. And so eventually she began submitting some little stories about them and things like that to the Tribune in Chicago, so a pretty large newspaper, and they began running her stuff. And eventually this grew into her writing a book and then another book. But both of them focused on people of the Ozarks, people that they knew around Mountain View.
You talk about a jelly farm that eventually they opened this jelly factory. That's just one of the details in this story. And that was in 1936 when they moved it down here. Her first book, Take to the Hills, was published in 1941. And you said, as you wrote in this article, as you first read the book, some of the things in there, you said you were annoyed by it, that you didn't necessarily like it. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and it's hard with research because you only have one chance to make an impression on something. So I can't go back and ask her about her opinion of things or anything like that. But the way that she kind of characterizes the people, she clearly likes the people that she writes about. That's not a question. But just the way they're presented is kind of a novelty, or kind of, the traditional hillbilly type attitude, especially with some of the dialect and things like that. I don't think she was intentionally making fun of anybody, but when you read it today, it's kind of like, the people here were just as smart and inventive and able to live as well as people in Chicago, but they were turned kind of into like a sideshow type thing, a novelty people wanted to learn about. And that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because whenever I think about people back during that day, I do think of how smart and resourceful they had to be. And the whole like stereotypical hillbilly thing always rubs me the wrong way. And I know it's had a significant impact here, especially for tourism. And there are times and places for, I guess, using that. But just having it come through the book and having people in Chicago fascinated with this way of life kind of as a weird type of thing, I was like, that part maybe isn't the best.
And maybe because she is also an outsider, someone coming from the city, coming down here and seeing things from a different perspective, maybe the way she wrote and the types of things she wrote about is what rubbed you the wrong way. And also people back then, you said you found an article in the St. Louis Dispatch that also basically shared the same sentiment as you did when you first read the book, that was, you're characterizing us in a way that's not really factual.
Exactly. And that's also just one opinion, but I did read that review, and a local woman had written it and just said that this is not how we are, and we need to have a chance to clarify this. Although I will say that I talked to two people who grew up in that area, were not personally familiar with Ms. Lyon, but they knew of her from other, long family connections, and said no one really seemed that upset about it. And actually, they had family members who were mentioned in the book and thought it was great. So, it's all a matter of perspective, I guess.
Yeah, and then you write about that too, that you changed your mind as you spoke to people who knew of her, who had family members who knew who knew her well, and that someone even has a copy of the book that was signed. Yeah, and that's interesting because those people then knew and said, yeah, she was my neighbor or my mom's neighbor or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, and my attitude really did change as I just kept, looking over the course of her life here in the Ozarks. I think that the work she did to help showcase the Ozarks is amazing in the overall picture. It's quite amazing to look back and see what she did. And then after she lived in Arkansas for a while and her husband passed away, she actually kind of capped off her life promoting College of the Ozarks, which of course is another unique chapter in all of this, because she went to live and work at the university. And I don't know what the arrangements were, but she apparently lived on campus and was their PR director for the rest of her life, and was the editor of a publication called the Ozark Visitor, which was widely circulated back then and helped share the story of the region and the school at the same time.
And you wrote that she's an example of how a simple decision can cause a major life change. In writing about the Ozarks, as you mentioned, people from all across the country, people in Chicago were hearing about the Ozarks because of her writing. Do you relate to that a little bit, how a simple decision of she started writing a column and then this grew to be a book, and she was recognized here regionally for her books and her everything she wrote about the Ozarks, something that you started doing too. It's I'll start a blog, and now it's grown to be something bigger.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see some parallels as I read about her, just similar ways of wanting to tell people about the Ozarks. And to your point, yes, that what can seem like a simple choice at a certain time has a lasting impact.
And Caitlin, you also have a book out now.
I do.
It's Passport to the Ozarks, and this is a guide of things we should check out here in the Ozarks.
That's right. There's restaurants, there's quirky historical stops, there's nature things, and it's all just a bunch of different ideas of places to go visit and explore. And there are photos and stories about each one, so you'll have kind of background and some visuals of why you might want to go there before you venture outward.
All right. Caitlin, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And you can check out the article we have been talking about Marge Lyon and her life, and the book Passport to the Ozarks on Caitlin's website, ozarksalive.com. We'll be right back with more right here on Ozarks Fox.